Well, Stu, welcome back. And welcome back to everybody to CreepTime, the podcast with Silas, Dean, and Stu. It's been a hot minute since we've been on. Although I feel like we just recorded the Amityville episode 2 seconds ago.
I know, which I've been thinking a lot about whether or not I think it's a hoax or not.
Has it been weighing on you? Wait, what is your new consensus?
I feel like I really jumped to the hoax conclusion so fast.
I've noticed that about you with a couple of cases now. You're much more skeptical than I anticipated.
Yeah, I think it kind of hit me afterwards. I was like, wow, I was such a cynic about it, and I should have been more.
No, I don't think you were a cynic. I think you were.
Back.
I think you were right on target with balancing with me, because I think I was like, well, it has to be real, the pig head.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, hold on, honey. You were bringing me back down to earth.
Well, we actually agreed on the pig head. That was where we found some common ground.
Wait, I think I had a nightmare about that. I'm not kidding.
I think I did too.
It's scary. Somebody wrote in the comments, I forgot if it was on YouTube or somewhere else, they said, oh, when they were thinking of a pig's head, when we were describing it, it made them think of Saw. Do you remember that being in the Saw movies? I don't.
Does he wear a pig's mask at one point? No, he has his own mask.
Yeah, he has that. Well, he has the Jigsaw mask,
yeah.
But there must have been a pig's head in some. There's a million Saw movies. Who the hell could keep up with that?
I know. I honestly don't even think I've seen one Saw movie.
Really? Honestly, keep it that way. Keep it as that.
They're going to.
Excessively gory. But that was
I don't like
a
gore.
full vibe. I don't really either. It's shocking to me. I squeal and scream. If it's satisfying gore, if it's a kill, a villain gets killed, I enjoy that.
Love that.
But unnecessary gore, I don't know if I'm a fan.
Yeah, gore plus pig, no go.
Well, to pivot away from any sort of supernatural stories, I thought I would tether us back to a case or a type of case that we haven't covered in a while, which is disappearance/classic true crime. We are going to cover... Oh, I haven't told you what we're going to do today, have I?
No, I'm excited.
I can't believe I forgot about this case. I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting whoever brought it up to me and brought it back into my purview, but I wanted to cover this almost 6 months ago with you, because it was such a sinister story, and it was having live updates in the past year or so. We're going to cover Zebb Quinn, his disappearance.
I feel like I remember that name.
I must have sent you something, because the reason this case is kind of famous is because it's linked to a police composite, a police sketch that is one of the worst I've ever seen. Unsettling. Deeply unsettling. I'm going to send it to you at a very strategic moment in this, so you can live react to it, and I'll describe it, Creepers.
God.
I'll describe it to you guys when we get to that part of the story. But yeah, this is a classic disappearance, but what's exciting about it is, like I said, it's had a lot of updates in the last year, so I get to fill in some of the blanks for you by the end of this.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm thrilled.
Yeah. So I'm stoked. And again, before we jump in, Creepers, thank you so much. So much for all of the support lately. Stu and I, we've been checking reviews, reading comments. We see you on Spotify, on YouTube, and you have no idea how much that means to us. The reviews have been so nice. Too nice. They're being too sweet with us.
Too nice. I know. Oh my gosh. And just to see people refer to some of our southernisms that we now weave in, or our little things that we say. It's just hilarious. I love it so much.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
It just feels like
I love them.
Creepy community.
It's a creep community for sure. But with that, I'm going to give you a top line on the Zebb Quinn case, which I'm assuming just from your reaction, you haven't really heard of, or you at least aren't super brushed up on the story, right?
I honestly think you said it to me one time, and I was like, that is a name I'm never going to forget. And I swear that's where it's just coming from. I'm like, Zebb Quinn? That is such a
specific name.
Unusual name. Yeah.
Well, while I was researching it, I got excited because I forgot where this actually takes place. Asheville, North Carolina.
No.
We have our first gasp of the episode. First one. Take a drink, Creepers. Take a drink.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I'm like, I don't know how to feel. Well, I shouldn't say this, I guess, but no one's gonna find him. But my brother lives there now, so I'm scared.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, so are you like somewhat familiar with the area then?
I the last time I visited him, I saw a lot more of it. So, but I still don't know. So like Asheville's kind of funky because it's like you're either in the downtown area or there's like Biltmore Estates, which is like the really famous like Vanderbilt estate that's
Okay.
totally separate. And then I know there's like little pockets. Like I know my brother lives in like little other neighborhoods outside of the downtown area, but it's like either super like old school, like old money because of the Biltmore Estates, or it's like very cool hipster town. But yeah, that's kind of all I know.
I'm curious to get into
recently?
this. No, this happened about, I guess, 2000, so like almost 24 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, it's shocking to think, but that is like considered older history now. But it's funny that you've been there because I'm excited to get into it to see if like you recognize any of the landmarks where this took place and like what went down. Oh, so okay, so cool. So let me get into the top line of who Zebb Quinn was and what exactly happened. In January of 2000, 18-year-old Zebb Quinn of Asheville, North Carolina, went missing along with his car after finishing his shift at Walmart. So nobody knew what happened to him or if he left on his own accord, like for whatever reason, just no one had any context for this story. Just several days after being reported missing by his family, his car was discovered abandoned in a restaurant. Did you hear my jersey come out? A restaurant parking lot.
Oh.
So apparently.
A restaurant.
That was my Teresa coming out. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you must know that it's New Jersey Housewives night. Restaurant.
I was going to say, I was like, I just picked up a few episodes of the later Jersey season, so I think that's creeping in. Sorry. So he's reported missing by his family. And then his car is discovered abandoned in a restaurant parking lot, which is adjacent to the hospital where his mother and sister both worked as nurses. Now, what was eerie about this story was that witnesses reported seeing a strange-looking woman driving the car shortly before it was left there, like abandoned, and then nobody ever seemed to see her afterwards. She, like, vanished. So once it was spotted and police were called, they found the car, inspect it, and it's in a very bizarre state. When police arrived at the car, Zebb is not found. It's totally alone. It was found with the headlights on, lipstick on the windows that drew out a pair of lips and an exclamation point, a hotel key card which could not be traced back anywhere. There was a jacket that was too small for Zebb, so it was clearly something that belonged to somebody else. And there was a live puppy in the car. Is that not weird as hell? So investigators, they couldn't make any sense of that scene, you know? Oh, wait, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say, maybe I missed it. Is Zebb female, male?
He's male.
Male, okay. Got it.
Male. So the strange woman driving the car comes like out of left field. Everyone's like, I think the seat in the car was also pushed up pretty far, indicating it was like a very short person who was driving. And Zebb was about 6 feet tall.
Got it. Okay.
Strange. Ooh, strange.
So strange.
So investigators, they had no idea what to make of the scene, and although there have been updates in the case over the years, and we're pretty close to understanding the full nature of what we think might have happened to Zebb, the complete story remains an unknown, and the woman who was seen driving that car is sort of the mystery that's left up in the air. This is the Zebb Quinn case. Any thoughts before I'm going to jump into some of the backstory?
So, remind me, lipstick, a hotel card key, a live puppy.
A card key, yeah. A hotel card key, lipstick that drew a pair of lips and an exclamation point. The live puppy. I think there were like empty bottles in the car, like juice bottles. Somebody was drinking juice. A jacket, which was too small for him, and the headlights were on.
Bizarre. And I'm stumped.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all eerie, but I think the stranger part is the actual witness account and description of the woman that was seen. Because, like I said, the police sketch that comes out of this is going to, you know what? I'm going to send it to you right now. I want you to see it right now.
On my ass, and we're only 11 minutes.
I know, moving quick. I will warn you before you see this, because this is, oh my God, it's literally rated as mature content on Reddit.
Stop.
Great. All right, I'm going to send it to you in the chat.
Okay.
For context, this is the woman, the last woman that everybody said they saw driving that car. Oh, wait, why can't I send it to you in the chat? I can send it to you in the chat. Sorry, I'm a fool. A fool, darling.
Okay, open.
Live reaction coming in 3, 2, 1. Tell us what you're seeing. Describe her.
Oh my God. That hair. First of all, okay, it looks like she has a literal, like, it's like weird, like, it's you know what it's giving? It's giving serial killer Pippi Longstocking.
Absolutely. Little Debbie. I'm getting the Wendy's girl.
Yes.
Like a cartoon come to life.
Yes. No
Look
eyebrows.
at the size of the feature. No eyebrows. This long, like abnormally thin nose. And we were just talking about before we got on the podcast, like I said, the majority of the population could benefit from lip filler. She is a prime example. This woman.
I mean, to be fair, she looks like me without any lip liner on, but
she looks nothing like you. Let me assure you.
She looks almost unreal. Like this was
Uncanny
an actual
Valley.
police. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Very Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, she looks like she looks alien like it's weird.
Totally. The no eyebrows too is just the most bizarre thing. But I have a few theories about who I think this could be, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I wanted you to go into this story, at least having a visual, knowing that this was the last woman seen driving his car.
Okay.
So let's jump into the backstory of who Zebb was and what we know happened on the night that he disappeared. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so Zebb was born on May 12th, 1981, right inside like Asheville, North Carolina. He's a local, lived there, grew up there his whole life. He was mostly described in the research that I found as a very sweet-hearted kid. His mom actually chimes in a lot to talk about her son, and she described him as kind of shy, and at times he was like a little awkward around people. But you get a feel from him just seeing him in pictures, like he was probably a sweet kid. While in high school, he ends up joining the Reserve Officer Corps, while he balanced that with his part-time job working in the electronics department at his local Walmart. And he's described by his coworkers, everyone who knew him at Walmart, as like a really hardworking, honest kid. Now, part of the reason that Zebb wanted to, get these extra hours in at Walmart was because he was saving up to replace his Mazda. And there's a coworker and friend of his named Robert Jason Owens who heard him one night at Walmart talking about this. And he kind of gives him like a tip. He's like, oh, there's a really good buy if you're looking to upgrade to like this type of car. I saw it across town. Like, do you want to go check it out after work? So this exact exchange, and then the evening where they both go out to check this car, would mark the last night that Zebb was ever seen. So there's some suspicious inclinations about what Owens might have done or how he might have been involved in this story, which would come to light later. But I'm going to run through the timeline of everything that we know of what happened on this night. But do you have any initial thoughts just on who Zebb is? I feel like it paints a pretty generic picture of him. I know it's not super in-depth, but it gives you a sense of who he was, just like an 18-year-old kid who was just working.
Seemingly like just low-key and probably would not be hanging out with the type of person that I just saw in that sketch.
That's truly the strange, like, that's the red herring of the story, is like trying to piece together how this sweet, kind of shy, awkward kid had any connection to this bizarre woman. If that was a woman. That's also a theory, that's not a woman.
Okay.
It's little Debbie.
I'm like... That's like, it honestly is it's really the Wendy's.
It's the Wendy's girl.
It's the Wendy's girl.
It's so scary. All right, so let's get through this timeline and see what's up. Now, we're still January 2nd. It's 9 p.m. Zebb clocked out of his shift at the Asheville Walmart, and he had these plans to go with his friend and coworker Robert Jason Owens, like I said, to go look at the car that he was going to consider purchasing. So they left right after Zebb's shift at 9, and they drive separately. That's important. And we know all of this lines up from, because it mostly comes from Robert's story once he's questioned, like, what happened on that night, and he, like, says, this is the timestamp, this is what happened. We know this story is corroborated up until this point because they're seen on surveillance cameras where they went into a local gas station, I think it was like a 7-Eleven or something, at 9:15, just to get like gum or something, or maybe pump gas. Like it was a very casual purchase, right? In and out. Mm-hmm. So they're seen on camera. And as the story goes, they get back in the car. Zebb then flashed his lights to signal Robert to pull over. So Zebb is actually following Robert because Robert's the one who was saying, like, I was leading him out to, like, the dealership that I saw the car. So they pull over. Zebb gets out of the car and told him that he needed to return an urgent call at a payphone. And by urgent call, he meant an urgent page because people had pagers. It was 2000.
Okay.
Not a phone. So he had to go find a payphone nearby. So they do find the payphone. And according to Robert's story, Zebb gets on the phone. He seems very, very anxious. He's not sure who he's talking to. He just said it was urgent. So then he hangs up the phone. Zebb comes back, and Robert goes, he looked frantic. He seemed really panicked. He got back in his car, and then he accidentally rear-ended Robert's car. And then he said, I'm sorry, apologized, and told Robert that he had to cancel their plans, that he had to go. He just had to leave that night. Supposedly, he then drove off, and this was the last time that anybody ever saw him. So later that night, Robert was treated in the hospital for a second unrelated car accident that apparently happened, but that car accident was never, like, reported to police or insurance. So goes the story, right? So the next day, when Zebb doesn't come home, his mother filed a missing persons report because this was not like him at all. He was a sweet kid, he was a shy kid, and he was not the type of person to deliberately, like, get his family upset, right? She knows something's off. So then we fast forward 2 days later. This is January 4th. The Walmart where they both worked, Zebb and Robert Owens, they get a call from a person, and he's saying, oh, it's me, Zebb. I'm going to call out sick. However, the staff who were on the phone, they're like, this voice doesn't sound familiar. This doesn't sound like Zebb. It, like, for sure was not Zebb. So knowing that Zebb was missing, they contact police, and they're able to trace the call, which was connected to a Volvo plant, where Owens also worked as a part-time employee. So when questioned, Owens admitted to making the phone call. This is the friend that was following him, claiming that he was doing Zebb a favor, because Zebb had contacted him and said, oh, could you just call out for me and just, like, say you're me and say I'm sick? That's his story. So during the investigation, police interviewed someone else. There's another character in this story. Her name is Misty Taylor. Now, the reason she's important is because allegedly Zebb Quinn and this girl, Misty Taylor, were romantically involved with each other. The reason that gets complicated is because him and Misty developed a relationship in the weeks preceding his disappearance. And Zebb had told his friends and family about this, but then he also confided that he had been threatened by her abusive boyfriend. So it seems like Misty was already in a relationship with this guy named Wesley Smith. And when he discovered that the two of them were talking or, like, getting involved, he was threatening Zebb. So now we have another sort of pseudo-suspect in this case so far. Mm-hmm. Now, both Misty and the boyfriend, they denied any involvement when they were questioned in Quinn's disappearance. And there have never been any ties, or at least at the time of the investigation, to tie in Owens, Misty Taylor, and this Wesley Smith guy. Like, together, there has never been any kind of collusion theory that's gone with this. Or conspiracy, rather. So a review of the phone records in this case indicated that the page that Zebb Quinn got, the one that made him pull over, which was shocking because clearly that part of the story was true. You know, coming from Robert Owens, like, they did pull over. He did have to get to a payphone for whatever reason. They were like, well, where did that page come from? So they traced it back to the January 2nd, right around that time, like the 9:30 mark, 9:15 mark. And they found out it was coming from his paternal aunt's house. Her name is Ina Ustich, I think. Now, this is strange because he didn't really have any contact with this aunt at all prior to his disappearance. So why would she be paging him, and why would it be emergent, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a bizarre web of things going on here that I feel like we're not, I don't know, like in the know of. So she gets questioned, and she's like, I never made a call to him. And they're like, no, we have this in black and white. Like, there's a record, like, you paged him. So what she told police was that she was actually having dinner in her home with her friend Tamra Taylor, who's Misty Taylor's mother. And apparently Misty and the boyfriend Wesley Smith were also present. So I heard that, and I'm like, okay, well, if they're in the home and they have access to, like, her pager, they're clearly the ones who are paging Zebb. It has to be that.
So weird. So just coincidentally, his aunt is friends with Misty's mom.
Mm-hmm. It must be a small town thing, like everybody knows everybody kind of thing.
For sure.
But it seems very conspiracy driven to me. I mean, they must have plotted that to some extent, you know, knowing that they would be there, that they could page. I mean, it's just strange to me that Zebb would even answer a page like that, unless maybe he thought there was something wrong with, like, his mother, or it was like a family related thing.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Guess it could be kind of jarring if you're not close with a family member, and then all of a sudden they're like paging you over and over again at like 9:15 at night. You're probably like, okay, something's happened to my family.
Exactly, it seems emergent. But just having the context that, like, clearly it seems like the aunt did not do this or was aware of it. But also that we know that Misty and the boyfriend Wesley were in the literal home of this aunt. It seems like clear as day that, like, one of them, if not both, were probably involved in some way. So she denied making the call, right? She's like, no, we were having dinner. I didn't make that call. But then she later, like a couple of days after, would file a police report stating that her house was actually broken into that evening. And she didn't even notice it at first because nothing was stolen. But she knew, like, certain things had been moved, like picture frames were moved and, like, things had been touched. So I don't know. I'm kind of putting two and two together, like, as I'm telling the story. And I'm like, it kind of seems like Misty and Wesley were there, scoped out, like, where the pager was. Because you're not having dinner at, like, 9:15 at night. Like, that's when, like, someone's entering the home to do something while someone's in bed.
Right.
And so they, like, scoped out, okay, here's her pager. They leave after dinner, come back into the home, and make that page.
So had they been there earlier that night for dinner? And then...
Yes.
Okay. And so his aunt is saying that, like, no, like, they weren't there still at 9:15?
Yeah, that's what she was saying. She was...
Okay.
Yeah, well, she was like, I didn't make the call. And she was like, and I didn't make any calls all night. She's like, because I was entertaining. Like, I was having people over for dinner, right? Including those three people, Misty, Wesley, and Misty's mother. So then the 9:15 or 9:30 page comes from the aunt's phone to the pager, or from the aunt's pager to his pager. And then he calls, I'm assuming he would call back the aunt, which also confused me because I'm like, well, wouldn't her house phone ring? You know what I mean? Like, who did he call? It, like, that part doesn't make sense to me, but this definitely happened. That's what's odd.
Okay, I don't want to, like, spoil anything for myself, but, well, I guess we wouldn't know, like, if what the conversation entailed.
No idea.
Who
he was even talking to. We have no idea who he was even talking to because it's a payphone.
Right.
Those damn payphones. Good riddance.
Good riddance.
So that's what we have so far. Like, that's our story. And then I'm going to jump into the next sequence, which is really the discovery of the car and why that's so strange. But before I do you have any, like, initial thoughts on... I almost ran myself through a scenario if the aunt could have been involved as well.
That seems...
Well, let's put aside, like, our own preconceived ideas about, like, family and whatnot. Because he's estranged from this aunt. She's clearly good friends with Misty's mother, who Zebb is involved with, and Misty already has a boyfriend. There could be a scenario here. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, there could be, but don't you think, okay, putting my familial ties aside, I feel like the aunt and the mom, like Misty's mom, if they're like close friends, I mean, don't you think that's so like juvenile to like go into cahoots with like Misty and Wesley to plot something nefarious on your own nephew?
I know what you mean. I was thinking of it from the context of like maybe they didn't think it was as serious as what Wesley and Misty were planning. They were like, "Oh, you're gonna like rough them up," kind of thing. I don't know why I'm doing a southern accent.
Yeah.
By nature.
Well, hey, that just helped me put that into perspective. That accent, could totally see that. I could actually see that if they think it's going to be harmless, I could see that happening for sure.
Especially maybe they're being fed like a different story too, because as far as we know, the story was that Misty and Zebb were like, you know, doing this together. But maybe the story that got fed to Misty's mother and got fed to the aunt was like, oh, Zebb is like pursuing Misty. He's like going after her. He's got to lay off. Yeah, because like she's got a boyfriend. And then this aunt's like, oh, she's like, well, I got his number kind of thing. Like, let's page him. She's like, go show him a thing or two about what it means to go after Misty. I'm building the story in my mind. I'm writing a story.
But don't you think, devil's advocate, don't you think that if that was the case, she would really have nothing to hide and just say, yeah, he called the house and we did something stupid, but I let the
unless
kids
she's scared.
page him.
Totally. I mean, that's what we would do as rational and as, you know, good citizens. But I could see a scenario where somebody gets really scared when the police come knocking and they just stay quiet. They go, nope, didn't do that. But it is also strange that she would then go out of her way to call police and report that her home was broken into. You know, if she was making that decision, if she was in the know of it and making the decision to conceal or hide.
Right.
I don't know. Should we get into the car sequence and see if that gives any clarity?
Yeah. Because I don't know who to point to right now.
That's the thing. The finger is going all around the room. I'm spiraling.
Yeah.
I'm 10 minutes in and I'm spiraling. So that happened on, let's see. That was the night of January 2nd. And then the 4th is when Robert Owens calls the Walmart. And he's like, it's Zebb trying to call out sick. And they're like, BS. So then 2 days later, it's January 6th, 2000. This is when a phone call comes in. And I believe it was from a former classmate of Zebb Quinn's who just happened to like be a coworker, I think, at the Asheville hospital where both the mother and the sister were nurses. So she, you know, called them and she was like, I think I see Zebb's car in this parking lot. And it was parked at a barbecue restaurant, which I wish I knew the name of it because I would see if you've been there, if this was a touch point for you. But it was adjacent to the hospital, which seemed very deliberate. So police are contacted. Everybody comes to the car because it's for sure this kid's car. They examine it. And like I said, let's go over every which way it was found. The headlights were on. The pair of lips drawn on the window along with an exclamation point in a woman's lipstick. And then we have the live black Labrador mix puppy that's found inside. We've got the plastic hotel key card. Doesn't link to any hotel. And then we have the seat pushed all the way up, the additional jacket, which was too small, and the empty bottles. What do we make of this? They did collect forensic evidence of this, and the craziest part about it, the part that I find crazy, is that from everything I read, it was tested up against the 3 key suspects that we have thus far, which would include Misty, the boyfriend Wesley, and then this Robert Owens kid. Not a match. Strange.
I'm trying to come up with something to say, and I'm like, I don't.
I could literally see your mind computing just now as you sat back. You were like, well, hold on.
I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of like, okay, so those are our 3 ties. And so I'm wondering whoever this person was, the creepy sketch lady, like who of these people is she linked to? Sort of. I'm trying to come up with who I could see her having contact with.
Okay, so here's, maybe I'll jump the gun, but I'm going to say this right off the bat. And I'm going to preface, this is just a theory, just my own little conspiracy, not meant to harm anybody, just for conversation's sake. I could not find any pictures of what Misty Taylor looked like anywhere online. Because everybody had said, they were like, well, if it was a woman driving it, and some people said like she kind of resembled Misty Taylor from the sketch. I'm like, well, what does Misty Taylor really look like? So I did some sleuthing, as I do. And I went down the rabbit hole of Facebook to go through like common connections, because a lot of these people still have public profiles, and you can go through like friends of friends to find like how many people in Asheville could be named Misty Taylor.
Yeah.
And I believe I found her profile. To me, I think she looks like this sketch. I really think she looks like this sketch. But then I shared that privately. I won't say with who, but it was with a couple of creepers to see, like, because they're like very, very tuned into this case. Somebody said that I was wrong and that I had the wrong Misty Taylor. But I was like, that seems but that seems impossible, because like she's Misty Taylor on Facebook from Asheville. Like how many of them could there be? They're not in abundance.
Yeah. And if she fits like the same age profile.
I mean, she was in high school, so I guess I guess they were all like 18. They were all around the same age. I don't know. Does this sketch look like an 18-year-old person? They look ageless?
I mean, it's one of those things, creepers, that she could be 15 or 54. I can't tell.
I've been there, honey. Welcome to my world.
I was going to say, that's how I operate. I either look like a 10 or a -5.
You do not. I'm going to see if I can find her profile real quick, because I want to send it to you, and I want to get your opinion. But tell me what you're thinking.
Okay, so here's the thing. If I'm thinking to myself, this is possibly like Misty Taylor, if we're just, for conversation's sake, going there right now, what are these objects? Why does she have a live puppy, a hotel key card, which that would check out, lipstick with an exclamation point. I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to be, but okay. Headlights on. I mean, not used to driving that car. Could have left him on by accident.
It kind of seems like pieces that were put together to throw the scent off the trail.
Yes.
That's how I'm reading it. I'm like,
yeah,
it's possible this wasn't even a woman who was driving, but it could have been one of the men who was involved, dressed in drag.
Yeah.
Who were then like trying to basically create this scenario of like a crazed woman who was involved with Zebb.
Is this your drag character?
This is my confession. My on-air confession.
Oh my God.
I couldn't find Misty's profile. I used to be able to, but then I think maybe after I pitched this theory, I think word got out, because can't find it anymore. I can't find it.
Oh man. Well, but that would, even just for conversation's sake, that would help me start to create a little bit of a thread here, because I'm lost. I'm like, how do they check for those 3 people? None of them are a match, all over this car. And they're really like the only 3 people that he was last communicating with or seen with.
Yeah, or at least for that, we're like entangled in his
figure.
Yeah, well, his social circle was small. Like, he was a shy kid, he was an awkward kid, and you're right, there wouldn't have been many people who would cross his path and be involved in this unless it was personal. And Misty is the one element of this that makes it all personal, because otherwise there's really no motive. He doesn't have any money. He hasn't done anything to anybody. The only animosity this kid could cause is being in a relationship with Misty Taylor.
And it just kind of hit me. If Zebb had known that Misty was going over to his aunt's house to get a page from his aunt's house, he would have been like, skirt, like, stop that car immediately. Maybe thinking that he needed to like go check on her or what was going on.
It just kills me that we're never going to know what that conversation was on the payphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're never going to know. But I also, I want to get back to some of the other conspiracy around this, because there are some other things here that seem strange. Well, we should at least go over the witness accounts that do come forward, because like I said, after the car is discovered, police start going around saying, did anybody see anybody driving this car? And of course, there are witness statements of the woman, the short, strange-looking woman with the mid-length hair and what is described as muted features. She has no eyebrows. Driving this car through town and then parking it and then setting out on foot, and she disappears. Whoever the woman was, she is connected to Zebb Quinn. We know this somehow, some way. One of the couples who, witnessed this person, they were the ones who eventually gave the infamous recount of them to the police artist who did this sketch, which has become the infamous relic of the Zebb Quinn case. And that was where the whole conversation about Misty Taylor got involved, and people are like, it kind of looks like her. And the reason, if the person I saw was Misty Taylor, the reason I think it looks like her is because the first thing you notice, or that I noticed when I saw Misty's face, very, very, very light blonde eyebrows, almost non-existent eyebrows. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is the most defining feature of this police sketch. No eyebrows.
Absolutely.
You would know that. At least they remembered that enough to be like, when they're, giving a description of the face, they're like, yeah, and she didn't have any eyebrows. Weird.
Well, and I can tell you, as somebody that just looked at that for the first time, that's the first thing I noticed.
I thought you were about to say, and I can tell you as somebody who has never had eyebrows. You're about to be like, these are completely drawn in, and you just wipe them off.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
That's the first thing I noticed. Very first thing.
It's striking.
I would have paid attention to.
So we really don't have much to go off of outside of the composite sketch and some of those witness statements. Zebb's mother is eventually questioned about like what her thought is on why the car was left there. She thinks that it was intentional. She thinks that whoever did this had some knowledge that the sister and the mother worked at that hospital adjacent to that parking lot. And I think the grandmother actually worked there too, which is insane. And it was their intention when leaving the car there that the family would find it, kind of like a dark, like twist of the knife, like salt in the wound. But outside of that, the case would remain kind of dormant as this mystery for about 10 years or more until we eventually get a break. A very, very big break. So any thoughts before I jump in?
Oh, I love a break. If that is the case, if they were leaving it there to, twist the knife.
Shock the family, yeah.
And shock the family. I mean, that's the thing. Once again, who would have that kind of motive? And at this point, it really only would seem like somebody that had been feeling like they had been wronged by Zebb, which would be the boyfriend.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, that is the clearest path I can see.
Unless there is the possibility that there's another person involved in this that we just don't have a paper trail for, because this isn't quite like the age of technology where, you can look through like text threads or even emails really and see, who else was he corresponding with. It's possible he may have had a few other characters in his life who were bizarre or had it out for him for whatever reason.
Yeah, I almost feel like the other half of me is wondering if, with the Owens character, if there was more there, or if there were additional people that they worked with that could have been involved in this somehow. Because
you've got a lot with Mr. Owens.
Really? Okay, because the first thing that came to me when you started talking was I was like, why the hell are they going to a car dealership at 9:00 at night? That seems weird.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure if it was a dealership. I think it was like a lot or something, like private sale or something like that. But it is strange. Yeah,
even if they were just going to drive to a lot or a dealership just to look at the make and model, if he was like, oh yeah, you got to see this car, it's cool.
Oh yeah, see it in person. Yeah.
Why are you doing that after your shift? Like, what? It seems odd.
It seems like someone's baiting, someone's like luring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the scenario is. Well, here, let me get into the next phase of the discoveries here in the breaks, and then we'll talk about like where my confusion comes from. So we're going to jump really, really far ahead. This is March 17th, 2015. So 15 years after the disappearance. The family has resolved their grief. They've assumed that Zebb is most likely gone forever, dead. Now, Owens, the friend, is arrested in an unrelated incident for the disappearance and murder of Food Network star, this is insane, and contestant Christy Schoen, I think her name is, as well as her husband JT Codd and their unborn child. This is insane what I'm about to get into. So the nature of this was not very clear to me from the things I was reading, but essentially what happened was Owens later admitted to killing this family by accidentally running them over in his truck. So I think what I was piecing together is that they came to his property for some reason. It was either for like a service or a sale or something, and it was either like a full accident, or there was an argument and he put the truck in reverse and by accident, and then eventually he ran the couple over. They were run over. You're sorry, your face is in complete shock. Was that totally out of left field?
We just went from nothing to Food Network stars get killed, and I know.
So the whiplash.
Not expecting that.
Is your neck okay? Because
my neck is okay, but my ass.
it is insane. But so this happened all these years later, and he admits to it. He's like, I accidentally ran them over. It gets even crazier because he tried to cover it up. So he ran the couple over, panicked, and didn't know what to do. He dismembered the bodies. He dismembered them and he hid them in his yard. So, which is insane because police, of course, do come sniffing, and it's 2015. They have many more forensic resources and ways to track, like, where were people going? What were they doing? Who were they interacting with? So they eventually catch on to this guy. So by April 27th, 2017, after he made an admission to this, as part of a plea deal which his attorneys had reached with the county district attorney Todd Williams, Owens was ordered to spend between 60 to 75 years in prison without the possibility of parole. So a life sentence, basically. But this insight into the case would actually open up some new clues into the Zebb Quinn disappearance and would actually tell us a lot. So back in June of 2015, while detectives were investigating Quinn's disappearance, they announced that they had unearthed on Owens' property fabric, leather materials, and unknown hard fabrics that were under a layer of concrete in his yard. The search warrant was initially obtained on March 31st, 2015, and according to the warrant, investigators also found an unknown white powder substance as well as pieces of metal and concrete. And I remember when this news kind of came out, actually, because I followed this for a while. I was frustrated by how vague these descriptions were. I'm like, what the hell are hard fragments? Just tell me if it's human remains or not. Just tell me. So they also found numerous plastic bags containing possibly pulverized lime or a powdered mix, which typically is used by people to try to dissolve bodies. It's like a go-to for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Authorities refused to comment on whether or not the fragments that were found were human bones, or if they believed that they had discovered Quinn's remains, citing that this was an ongoing investigation. But even now, they still have not said whether or not what they found were human remains. What they concluded was that whatever it was they found was suggestive that Owens is unequivocally linked to the disappearance and murder of Zebb Quinn. That's really important. So by July 2022, it was announced that Owens had told investigators back in 2018, this was kept under wraps for a long time, that he was partially responsible for killing Zebb Quinn. But he said it was a family member of his who killed Quinn, dismembered the body, and burned the remains, and that the evidence could fully be found, I'm assuming meaning the body, in the Bent Creek experimental forest. I don't believe the body's ever been found, which is also wild. And I guess it's been a very, very long time. It would take a very long time to find those remains, but he says that he is partially responsible for killing him.
I should have trusted my gut, which was when you said he called in to work that day.
Oh.
Immediate red flag. Why are you doing that? Why would you do that? If you cared about your job, No. That didn't make sense. No. And I should have trusted my gut. And you know what makes...
I don't blame you. Though. Yeah. It's strange.
But you know what makes also perfect sense is that if they were buddies at work, I'm sure as an 18-year-old, you're telling this guy, like, oh, man, there's this girl that I'm crazy about, but her boyfriend...
Yeah, totally.
Like, I am sure he knew that whole narrative and could easily use that as, his he could paint a perfect picture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, he also knew all of them too, I think, because like I said, small towns, small communities, everybody kind of knows everybody. So even if it was as connected as Zebb saying like, don't tell anybody, but like Misty and I are like a thing, that totally could have happened. My confusion was like, okay, well, even if that's the case, what the hell is the motive of this Owens kid to want to kill him? Yeah, well, it also, I was on your side too, where I was like, surely, although it's strange and that's a red flag, and I knew that you knew that was a red flag, that he called in sick for him, I'm like, surely the investigators could never like let this go on for 15 years without cracking Owens as like the lead suspect. I'm like, they must have ruled him out somehow. He must have been ruled out. Apparently not.
No.
So here's what we know. Well, truly no alibi. I mean, he said later that night, don't forget, he went to the hospital to be treated for injuries related to another car accident that happened that night that was unreported. So something went down for sure.
Yeah.
The strange part about that, though, is that I don't think he acted alone. Well, I guess we know from his confession he didn't, but I don't know. I still have these bizarre ties to like Misty and the boyfriend Wesley because of the confirmed page, and like them literally being at the aunt's house. So what do we know? Let's see. So he says they can be found in this forest, Bent Creek Forest. They're never found. On July 25th, 2022, Robert Jason Owens officially pleads guilty to the lesser charge of being an accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. So he's not claiming that he was the one who actually killed him. Via his attorneys, Owens accused his uncle, Walter Gene Owens, who died in 2017, of being the one who murdered Zebb Quinn. So Robert claimed that Gene was hired by Misty Taylor's boyfriend to murder Zebb Quinn. I know. I know.
Oh
I'm like, and so the web has been spun. Robert claimed that Gene was hired to carry this out, and that what happened is that Robert and Zebb were unknowingly lured by Gene to go meet Misty Taylor, in the, I don't know how to pronounce this, the Pissage. It's not the Pissage. I'm sorry. Creepers, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce this. Pisca. It's definitely Pisca.
So we've got Pisca Restaurant opening in Asheville.
Oh my God, Craig.
Come check it out.
I said Pissage, like Marcel Visage. I said Pissage.
Pissage Restaurant.
I'm sorry, everybody. Yes, the Pisgah National Forest. So they were lured out there by Gene, I guess under the false pretense that they were going to meet Misty Taylor. So Robert claims that Gene was present at this park, like the National Forest, instead of Misty Taylor. I don't know what this... So this had to be a conspiracy then, where I'm assuming they're driving. Zebb gets the planned page from the aunt's house. It's Wesley. Or maybe it is Missy. It would have to be Missy. It couldn't be Wesley. It would have to be Missy, wouldn't it?
Wait, so he goes out to this forest. He sees... The plan was it would be Gene and...
I think Gene was not even a part of the conversation, was the thing. Like, Gene was out there waiting to kill Zebb. But part of the plan to lure him out was that Zebb gets the page, goes and calls to answer it. It's Misty. And she's like, come meet me in this forest. She's like, I need your help. My car broke down or something.
Okay.
Because he's lured out there, and Robert goes with him. When they get there, Gene, the hired hitman, the uncle, the dark uncle, is waiting there for them. And then what happens next, according to Robert Owens, is that they come to the park, they find Gene, and upon sight, Gene shoots Zebb Quinn with a .22 rifle. Robert said that Gene then dismembered the body and burned the body in the woods, and that he assisted Gene, Robert Owens, in the cover-up. This is his admission, and he was sentenced because this was apparently credible enough that they could have a trial and sentence him to 12 to 15 years. 12 to 15 years in prison to be served concurrently with his existing kind of pseudo life sentence for the 2 unrelated killings of running over the Food Network people. This case, oh my God. The district attorney stated that Robert James, have I been saying Jason? I think it is Jason. Yeah, Robert Jason Owens, his conviction has legally established that Zebb Quinn was murdered and that he was partially at fault. So that is the bedrock of what we now know to be of Zebb Quinn's murder. But it still leaves these questions. Was Misty involved? Because she, in my mind, she could have been the only person who would have been involved to lure him out there for the hit. But also, who the hell was the woman who dropped off the car? Mm-hmm. Those are our questions that we're left with, Stu.
What's kind of insane about all of this to me is the motive was really just because he was having this 18-year-old love triangle happening, and the families decide this is like the Hatfields and the McCoys. We're going to have a whole murder over this, a duel. Like, it just seems so insane. But
how much could the kid have paid for this hit? I mean, because hits aren't free. So I'm assuming Wesley, although Wesley has not been convicted as far as I know. So like, that's the thing, is like Misty and Wesley are not like in the mix of this legally at all, which is strange to me.
Yeah.
I need this whole case to be revisited.
Well, what we need to understand why he was estranged from this aunt, why this aunt had them over that night at her house, because all of the pieces are there. It's just the relationships that we're missing more context on, because that would be easier to like help color this if we knew kind of the backstory as to why the aunt was estranged.
That part I don't think is very insidious. I think that part might have just that the aunt, I think the aunt was used, honestly. So I think that Misty and Wesley, this is all alleged. I think that Misty and Wesley knew that their mother, Misty's mother Tamara, was friends with Zebb's aunt. So I think they kind of coaxed like a dinner, like, oh, we'd love to like go over and have dinner with her. We hear she's a great cook. I'm, filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
But I think her home was used for that reason, because they knew that they would be together in a location where they would be able to get a hold of Zebb through his pager.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Like, he would see a page from his like distant aunt as an emergency, like you said. So he calls the payphone, hits the house phone. They are expecting it. So like Wesley's like waiting by the phone in this woman's house to pick it up, and then immediately puts Missy on. And she's like, hey, she was like, I'm at your aunt's right now or something for some reason for dinner. I don't know, with my mom.
See, that's where I'm like, what? Wouldn't she have to clarify that she's at his aunt's house? How weird is that? He'd be like, why are you at my aunt's house?
I'm sure she could have come up with something. She'd say, like, I'm here with my mom.
I mean,
she was like, she's like, but I'm going to drive out to this park if you want to, like, meet me there for something. But I don't know why Robert would then come with him. You know what I mean? Because Robert followed him. So he describes in his confession. It's insane that there's a confession, but I'm still confused.
See, I think that's the key, is we need to know how Robert, because like you said, I was saying, why in the world is he kind of involved in all of this? He must have had, whether small town or not, some sort of tie to Misty and Wesley in order to like care this much, I guess. Like, why would he?
It's why get your hands dirty kind of thing.
Yeah, like, you're a young kid. Why would you care that much?
Maybe he was clued in on some of the money, because clearly the Uncle Gene was paid off for the hit. But maybe in Robert's mind, Robert was like, oh, we're getting paid to like rough him up kind of thing. Like, we're going to like kick his ass because he's messing with Misty and Wesley, and he's going to throw me a couple $100s or something. Shows up and the uncle shoots the kid dead. Because at 18, that's wild to like plot a conspiracy to kill somebody and dismember a body.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have to just be going along for the ride, I would think.
Yeah, and like a true accessory, like just being caught up in the mix, and then suddenly you've got your older uncle who's like, you have to do this because you're an accomplice now. You just saw me kill him.
But I'm still I'm still not over the connection somehow to be able to call Gene and be like, you're the one that needs to carry this out. If there wasn't some other relationship with Wesley, Misty, and is it Jason Owens?
Robert Jason Owens.
Robert Jason Owens. Like, because how would they have found Gene to do this?
No, you're right. You're right. Unless Gene is just known locally as, like, I don't know, the guy you kind of go to for shady stuff.
Your
you know
local
how everybody...
North Carolina hitman. Gene Owens.
Gene Owens. Thank you for that. I needed a little bit of release.
Yeah, there's your levity.
Towards the end. Well, you got to go to Gene Owens. He kills everybody.
Y'all, you got to call Gene Owens. I mean...
Damn. Truly justice won't be served if this is all true. I mean, it would also be convenient for, like, I don't know, Robert Jason Owens to pin it on the dead uncle and be like, no, he was the one who killed him.
Well, I mean, that's also a possibility.
It's true. Well, there's also a theory that the woman who was seen was Robert in a wig.
Okay, now I have to look at this again.
Well, let me send you a picture of Robert.
Okay, I was going to say, have we seen a picture of Robert?
I would say it's entirely possible it could have been him. I'm going to get you a picture of him when he was 18, too, so I can really
because there's really not many feminine features on this sketch, I must say.
Well, before a lot of this was, cracked and the confession came out, a lot of people actually suspected. They were like, what if that's Zebb?
I was just going to say that.
They were saying, well, what if that was Zebb and he was coming to terms if he was coming out as trans or something along those lines, and then Zebb escapes, like leaves the North Carolina life to go live someplace else under a new name, a new identity. So that was the theory for a long time because the disappearance seemed completely unexplainable, although the details of the jacket being too small and the seat being pushed up too far, I feel like kind of edged this out of possibility.
Yeah. Although that could have very easily also been planted.
It could have been.
You
it would take
jacket
nothing.
You move the seat up. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the thing is that Robert Jason Owens, I think, is considerably shorter compared to Zebb, which also makes me think this could have been him in a wig. And all of the feminine touches in the car to kind of deliberately make it seem like, oh, look, there was a crazy woman who was in this car. This could have been concocted by him and the uncle for all we know. What are your thoughts on that face? Do you think that could have been our mystery woman?
Okay, I'm looking at... I mean, definitely could have been, although I must say he has fuller lips than this sketch shows.
I would also say he has a more prominent chin than this sketch. Oh, God, I really, really wish I had a picture of Misty Taylor. I desperately wish I had one. I'm telling you, Stu, the picture I saw, it really, really looked similar. Oh, my God, I think I have one. Oh, my God,
Okay.
Hold on.
Because I was going to say,
please.
Definitely looks more like Robert Jason Owens than it does Zebb, in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty close to Robert Jason Owens.
So I'm just remembering now from like the pictures that I saw on Facebook a while back when I first did my deep dive on this. I can no longer find that profile, but I think I found her Twitter because this is the exact face I remember. It's going to be hard for you to see the face really because she has a pretty heavy filter on, like a Snapchat filter or something. But let me know what your impression is compared to the police sketch.
I have chills. Okay. Okay, it might be the filter, and she might be considerably older now, so I'm trying to take that into account. But her nose looks much bigger than this sketch. Granted, sketches can be, a bunch of...
They can be warped,
different people's opinions, and it can be warped.
My thing is the eyebrows.
The eyes. Yeah, the eyes and the eyebrows.
Let me see if she has more...
I think it looks more like Robert Jason Owens.
Really? It would make sense with the height, to be honest.
The only thing is, though, is that this photo that you sent me, where it looks like he's probably, close to his adolescence or teenage years, he's considerably heavier looking than this sketch. I mean, this sketch
That's true.
clearly indicates like a slim looking person.
You know what I just realized that I haven't looked up? What did Gene look like? The uncle.
Yeah.
That I can't find. I have no idea. I have no idea if I'd be able to find him because he seems like a very like off the grid kind of character. Probably not a lot of pictures.
And I have to say, it looks like Zebb.
You think so?
Just a little bit. I mean,
I think that's what threw people
Zebb
for a
has
loop for so long.
Zebb has really slim eyes, but the only thing is, in all these photos of Zebb, he has very defined eyebrows.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, the eyebrows for me kind of etched this out of possibility. God, I really wish I had more pictures of this Misty character. I'm doing some deep sleuthing right now.
Because she definitely has light eyebrows.
They're almost non-existent.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have another location for her. So I think I can use that to try to see if maybe she just changed her name on Facebook. Okay. Please, nobody come for me for this. This is sleuth work. I'm doing my best.
This is live sleuth work.
Live sleuthing. But is that not such a strange, like, eerie story? I mean, arguably, we have more information on it than we've ever had before throughout, like, the 20-plus years of the case.
Yeah.
But there's still something about it, several things about it, that make me feel like I don't know what the hell happened. I don't get it. I don't get the motive. I don't get who was involved, how it happened, the timing of everything. Everything seems murky to me.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm close to finding somebody else. Oh, she definitely changed her name. Totally. Oh, wait. I think I remember. I think I know the nickname she goes under.
Okay. Oh, this is fun. We haven't done a live sleuthery in a little bit.
I know. And I'm not doing it very well, to be honest, because I'm not like pulling up many results here, but dang.
Oh, well, whoever Misty is, I mean, she's done a good job of keeping herself off of the grid, which to me, I don't know. I mean, I can totally understand if you've been wrongly accused, you want to keep yourself, have aliases or hide yourself on social media. But if you're not, I mean, why can we find all these other people so easily and we can't find one darn thing about her?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really like doing her a disservice right now by bringing her up, I guess, and going through the Rolodex of options. But dang, she really is off the grid. It's so hard to find her. Well, if I do, I will certainly re-report it to you so we can get a proper look at her. But Stu, that's everything that I know about the Zebb Quinn case. Very back to basics. Very like classic true crime, a little bit of mystery.
Basics. I know. This is like feels like one of our like super early episodes. Like
it does, yeah.
Brandon Lawson are like ooh. Oh man. I'm really unsettled by this.
I just have to. I want to know more about the story.
In North Carolina.
I was gonna say. Do you feel like a little closer to it because of the way I described it and because of all of the Asheville touch points?
I mean, not even. Which is like very. That's. I mean, that proves this is very compelling. The way you've done your research and everything. I mean, I kind of totally forgot we were even in Asheville. The thing that's going to keep me up at night is really my feeling is that this Owens character had a link to Wesley and Misty, but we just can't piece it together. It just doesn't make any sense how they could not be linked.
Well, it's crazy because it would be one thing if this confession came out and now we've got his like 2022 sentencing, like you're saying, and it's like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. Let's connect the dots. Let's bring those two, Wesley and Misty, back into the conversation. That's not even close to happening. They are
Not
still
even on the table.
completely ruled out of this, which I don't understand. Maybe we're does anybody have anyone who works in county? Maybe we're like thinking about police cover
I was
up
just say I can
and
call a
forgetting
couple
about that.
contacts in Nashville and see if I'm going to tell my brother. I'm going to be like, march your ass down to the county police and demand to look at some public records. Okay.
Well, Stu, oh my God, you hear my voice crack? Like the teenage boy I am. Stu, that's all I've got for you. Creepers, a cut and dry true crime episode. Little air of mystery in there. I feel like that was a pretty succinct one. We really laid out the case.
I love
but
that.
I think we're going to revisit this one because I'm not done with it. I want to find more. I want to find more on this. And I swear, if I find that profile of Misty Taylor, we'll live react to it. I'll send it to Stu on the next episode, and I'm going to have her go through it and actually give me the final answer. Do you think she is once and for all linked to that sketch?
Yes. Oh, nothing would make me happier than if we can uncover a little bit more about her.
Amazing. Well, Creepers, we're going to catch you guys next week on a Friday episode. Stu, should we say goodbye? Any send-off messages?
Bye, creepers.
Bye.